Okay, all set.
All righty, let me get on here.
I see you and hear you.
All right, here we go. I'm on it. Let me turn my volume down.
I see you and hear you.
All right, here we go. We're gonna get into our, excuse me, our committee meeting this evening. Looks like it's a Jim Cott show. And we got 6 first readings on our regular agenda, no second, third, or pending. And then we have a supplemental agenda with 2 readings on it. Is that correct, Kelly?
That is correct.
All right. So I'm gonna turn it over, Jim Cott show.
All right, we
Here
will start
go.
the Finance Committee meeting at 6:06. All members are present. Our first resolution is 20R64, a resolution to modify and adopt compensation rates for part-time firefighters, paramedics, and declaring that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage. We have a special guest today, the Honorable Chief Leslie, and I'll let you just jump right in and share your information. Don't forget to unmute.
Thank you, Mr. Kotz. This all started because we've lost a number of our part-time personnel here recently, and doing kind of just unofficial exit interviews with them, found out that one of the big reasons why they were leaving us is they had gotten hired full-time by other departments, which is great. I appreciate that. But most of these guys already are working 3 to 4 part-time departments. And when they get hired full-time, they normally cut back on the departments they're working for. Well, the first ones that they cut out are obviously the ones that pay the least, which happens to be us. So that being said, talking with them and then talking with Clinton's chief, Conroy, who let me know that he was going to increase their rates. I spoke with the mayor, and here we are this evening. The problem we have, like I said, is we're having a hard time attracting people or keeping people. And at this point, we're at critical levels with our part-time personnel. We just can't, we're having a problem filling shifts to the point where we've actually had to pay, in the past, we've had to pay some overtime just to get the shifts covered. So we're asking to increase. I did a canvas of the area departments, and of the area departments, the only one that is lower than us, there is Canal Fulton's lower than us, and they are at $15.85 an hour. Lawrence Township's at $15 an hour, but they go up $1 an hour each year they work for them. So they can go up to a max of $20 an hour. Coventry is paying their part-time personnel $19.37 an hour. Chippewa Township, to our west, is paying their personnel $18 an hour. So my suggestion to the mayor was that we at least up our pay rate for our medics to $18 an hour. Hopefully, not only will this allow us to attract some more part-time personnel, but also keep the ones we currently have. So, any questions?
Anyone?
So you're fairly confident then that we can grab some personnel with that wage then?
Yes, I think we can. At least we're competitive with the others, so that it gets us into the ballpark. There's a lot of things that we don't do with our part-time personnel. There's some requirements that others have that we don't have, which is not bad. It's just we're a little more flexible time-wise than other departments are. So I think given that, plus the fact that, you know, the $18 an hour for the medics and then the $15.50 for the basics. Hopefully that'll at least alleviate this problem for us.
What's our ratio of part-time to full-time? Do we have, I'd assume we're strong on the part-time?
Well,
Or we
we
wanna
have
be?
actually, we have 14 full-time guys, and right now we're at 13 part-time. We've been in the past, I try and keep us somewhere between right around 15 to 20 part-time personnel. We've had as many as 30 part-time personnel in the past, and we've had issues with filling shifts. We found that if we can keep a good supply of reliable people, between 15 and 20 of them at any given time, we usually do pretty well at covering shifts. The other part of this is too, that's played into this too, is the COVID. We have a lot of guys that, you know, work for us. But because of the COVID, a lot of their full-time departments aren't allowing them or asking them to limit the number of part-time hours that they give.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any more questions. That's, I mean, when you think about those people out there coming to save you, you know, that wage seems kind of low to me, but you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I have no more questions.
I
We've had
agree,
this-
Andy. It does seem low.
Yeah, we've had this problem with the fire for years and the police, that we've always paid, and we've lost police, we've lost fire to this. So I mean, I'm okay with this little bit of a pay increase, just to try to keep some part-time people there to, you know, fill some shifts. And in the long run, it saves you money if you're not having to pay the overtime or whatever to a full-time, to have good part-time people here. So I'm in favor of this.
I would be too.
Chief, I have a couple questions for you.
Sure.
It's been 2 years, almost 2 years since we've adjusted these pay rates. So I think that's a point that needs to be put out there, that, you know, we need to look at this on a regular basis and make sure we're staying competitive. At the rate of 18 and 15.50, we're still going to be like 4th or 5th place in the cities that you surveyed. Are we still going to be competitive?
What, at least at this point we are. My hope is that as we move forward from this point, that we can kind of maintain that being competitive by adding those, should we have non-union increases like a 2% or a 3% pay increase, that we also include those part-time firefighters, so that they can also, we can keep bumping that up gradually over time and still maintain that competitiveness.
You mentioned Clinton is raising their rate. What, they're not listed on your spreadsheet.
No,
What are
they're
their
not.
rates?
And I was informed last night.
I'm sorry.
I was informed that as of last night, Clinton had their council meeting, and they went ahead and approved the $15.50 for basics and the $18 an hour for paramedics.
Okay, so the people working in the same building will be getting paid the same.
Correct.
That's good. And you mentioned having trouble attracting people, and obviously the jump in the pay rate is going to help out. But are there other things we could do that might help attract people, help bring them to New Franklin? You know, thinking out of the box as far as a bonus. You know, you're with us for 6 months, or you put in so many hours within 6 months, you get a little financial bonus, or additional uniforms, or a trip to Tahiti.
No, I apologize. The trip to Tahiti, no, but I am working on possibly some other issues or some other compensation as far as uniform, you know, adding uniforms, so that the idea is when they get hired, once they do their year, they get one complete uniform. My thought, and that is another thing that's come up, is, these guys that have worked for us for 5 years and are still in one uniform, they need additional uniforms. So I'm working up a plan right now that I did not have ready for tonight. I apologize, but where we come up with a uniform schedule, so that my thought is, if they work and don't hold me to this, but if they work 2,000 hours, every 2,000 hours they would get another uniform, which would almost be, or 3,000 hours, which would be equivalent to 1 year's working as a full-time firefighter, they get another uniform. So somewhere in there, I'm looking at that with the other departments, see what they're offering there, and don't be surprised if I come back to you with additional, for at least for uniforms.
All right. And before, you talked about the probationary period and how important that was to you 2 years ago, that having that probationary period in that step. And then we also had a training wage. Is all that gone now?
Well, yes. The answer to that is yes. After canvassing the other departments, there is only one other department right now that has a probationary rate, and that's Springfield Township. And that they're on that rate while they're on probation. Now, they would still, all the others start out immediately at that rate. So obviously, if you're looking to come to us at a probationary rate of, which currently is $12.30 an hour, versus going to, let's say, Chippewa, where yes, you're still on probation, but you're still making that $18 an hour rate. Their choice is obviously going to be to go to Chippewa. So yeah, my suggestion was to the mayor, and it's included in here, that we do away with the rate is the rate. You still have your 1 year probation. You're still on probation for that time period, but there is no step rate there, just to stay, again, competitive with the other departments.
Any other questions? And I'm guessing from everyone's reaction that we'll ask to waive the 3 readings on this and move forward.
Yes.
Jim, I'd offer
Fantastic.
one last comment on that one, is that and correct me if I'm wrong, Susan, but I think we will want to amend section 1 to add effective with the pay period beginning December 27th, 2020.
Yes.
Would that be accurate, Susan?
Yes, that
Okay.
would be accurate.
And that's what your wishes as well, Steve?
Pardon me?
That we would, the pay raise would be effective December 27th, for the pay period beginning December 27th.
That's fine. I had it for effective the pay period beginning January 10th, but that's fine if you want to amend that. I don't have a problem with that.
I don't think we had an effective date in the,
I believe it's on the bottom of the addendum.
no, yeah, but that's not part of the, well, anyway, we're going to
Okay.
need to insert it in the resolution, so.
Yes.
However you feel, Mayor, that's fine.
Since you brought that up, I noticed on here that on our first whereas, it says the rate hasn't been adjusted since 2017, and we adjusted that 2019.
Well,
That's
the
correct.
adjustment we did in 2019 was, I think, the 2.5% that we added along with the other employees. But in terms of actually a step increase, I think the last one of those was 2017.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Thank you
Fantastic.
very
We'll move
much.
on. Thanks, sir. We'll move on to resolution 20R65, a resolution authorizing New Franklin to enter into agreement with Montrose Ford for the purchase of a 2020 Ford F-Series SD truck for the service department, and declaring that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage. And as I understand, this is because what we agreed on a couple meetings ago is not going to be available for us until spring. So we're moving some things around to get this, and this is still going to be part of the COVID relief fund.
Yes, that's correct.
The GMC is not available.
Correct.
Not until April.
Okay. So I guess we'll dive right in then. This is this is only a 2-wheel drive truck, right?
Correct.
Is there, I mean, is there a problem bumping it up to a 4x4 to, just so we can get a little bit extra service out of it?
I feel there's no need for the 4-wheel drive. It's not going to be a plow truck. It's just a utility truck with putting up signs, trees, various other things. We have one like it. We've never had an issue with it being stuck or anything of that nature. Getting one in by the end of this year probably be almost impossible, but I didn't even want to dive into the 4-wheel drive. It's cost more, it's more on gas, and for this type of vehicle, I didn't need it. The other truck that we were going to get this year was going to have a plow on it. It was 4-wheel drive, but that kind of got rearranged. Well, I was wanting to get this next year and the 4-wheel drive truck this year, but when it wasn't available, that became a problem. So I reached out to Montrose Ford and found this. They already shipped it up from Columbus. They found it in Columbus. So, and it goes through the CUE bidding program, which is a little bit cheaper than the state bid. So,
Okay. So what about that GMC then? Are we going to have to revisit that in the spring then, or that's still, we're set? They don't have it available. Is that it? Okay.
yes, they're not building 3/4 ton pickup trucks until March.
Okay.
So
We've signed
That
the
was my
agreement on
fault.
that. So that'll be in. And what we're hopeful is that, well, we certainly expect a second wave of CARES funding, as does the rest of the country after the first of the year. And I'm hopeful that we'd be able to purchase that truck out of those funds. And I talked to Brian about this too, about the 2-wheel, and I guess the one he has, they've been using, they've got what, about 90,000 miles on that one?
roughly around there. I don't know the exact on it. I
Okay.
didn't look.
So apparently the 2-wheel has served its purpose.
I drove it for 6 years, and I never had an issue getting to work when the roads were even bad before we even cleared them. But this will probably be used it will be used just for putting signs up and cutting trees, and for more of our jobs of the ditch enclosures or fixing catch basins. It's going to have all the tools and stuff in it.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
I think we're going to have to ask to waive the 3 on this. We need to have this completed by the end of the year. And as I understand it, the truck is on the lot and pretty much ready for delivery. Is that correct?
Correct.
So we'll ask to waive the 3 on that.
Definitely.
Our third resolution is 20R66, a resolution amending resolution 20R57, authorizing the city of New Franklin to enter into a 2-year policing contract with the village of Clinton and declaring this effective immediately upon passage. An emergency, you know the drill. So this is just basically a little housekeeping, putting it at the 2 years, the agreed upon $150,000 per year that we passed a couple meetings ago or last meeting. Any other comments about this, Mr. Mayor?
That's just correct. It was just really a misprint. We missed it on section 1 of that 20R57. The addendum was a contract for 2 years, but and we recite that in the whereas, but when we got to the now therefore clause, we said enter into a 4-year contract, and it was supposed to be a 2. So this is one way to clean that up, and we'd like to get this passed tonight if we can.
Absolutely, makes sense. Any questions, anybody? So we will ask to waive the 3 on that resolution. Resolution 20R67, a resolution authorizing an advance from the general fund to the 2907 COP School Violence Prevention Fund and declaring that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage. We've gone through this a number of times this year. And this is, again, a grant that we applied for with the schools, but we did the applying, so we have to administer the funds and stuff. And we're just, again, moving that money to make that happen. $12,648.87. Am I missing anything?
No, the only thing I would want to say is that all the money advanced to this fund will be eventually paid back to the general fund.
And we will ask to waive the 3 on this also. Resolution 20R68, a resolution authorizing the transfer of funds from the general fund to the police district and dispatch, declaring that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage. Again, this is something that's done usually about once a month. We're looking to move from the general fund to the police district fund, $165,000, and from the general fund to the dispatch fund, $100,000. Questions, concerns? Waiving the 3.
Waving the 3.
Resolution 20R69, a resolution authorizing additional appropriations to the 2020 annual operating appropriation budget and declaring that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage. This is in the amount of $310,000 to the street construction and maintenance fund.
Yes, this, as we told you, I believe at the last meeting, we got some of our numbers back from the county, and there were they changed some of the taxes and those rates so that we were over our appropriations in the PD and as well as the service department. So the easiest way to remedy that was to basically put in the 310, which was money that we received from Nexus for road repairs, that we could say, hey, we got this other source of money, so we should be able to appropriate that additional amount of money. That doesn't say that that specific Nexus money is going to go to a specific project, because now we have extra money in that fund that we weren't anticipating. Therefore, we should be able to appropriate more, we're going to use that, and that will take care of the over $8,000 that we were in the negative in appropriations because of the change at the county level. And this previous resolution, because it for the police was 165 instead of just 150 or 100,000, because that extra 65 is something we're transferring to take care of that negative appropriation balance for the certificate. So these are just kind of in-house things that I need to do to clean up that problem and to make sure everything is straight for the auditors.
So the 310 is the total amount we received from Nexus?
For damages to the road. It was two payments from them, yes.
Questions? We'll ask to waive the 3 on that. Moving on to our supplemental, we have 2 first readings. So we have resolution 20R70, resolution granting wage increases for full-time and part-time non-union job classifications and declaring that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage. And this is the one that includes everybody. And then we have resolution 20R71, a resolution granting wage increases for all full-time and part-time non-union job classifications with the exception of part-time fire, and declaring that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage. So, Mr. Mayor, how are we handling this?
Well, council will, since you're going to waive the 3 readings on 20R64, depending on the disposition, if that passes, then I will be withdrawing 20R70. And then we'll have 20R71 for your consideration, given the fact that the raises would be in effect for the part-time fire. We don't want to raise them another 2.5% for a variety of reasons, but one of which is the fact that then that skews the wage scale for the firefighters, paramedics who are working side by side down in Clinton. Now, yeah. So, and beyond that, then for the
So
merit,
these are basically the same, with the exception of the firefighters, the part-time firefighters.
that's it.
So we'll concentrate on 20R71 at this point. And this is to provide a 2.5% increase, if I read that correctly, for our full-time and part-time non-union job classifications. Correct?
That's correct. And that's consistent with the union raises. And you folks have heard me speak on this in previous mayors as well, that historically we've done this for our non-union folks to keep them commensurate with the raises that the union folks get. I would say, if anything, it's even more appropriate this year than others, given the fact of the strain that everybody's working under. The fact that they're all essential employees. And they've been through a lot, I can tell you that. So we would ask you to support this wage increase. And again, it would be effective with that pay period beginning December 27th.
Okay. Anyone have questions or comments? I will say, as I've said in years past and continue with it, I'm not in favor of this. I am not opposed to our full-time and part-time non-union workers getting raises. I'm opposed to the process of just handing out a raise just because you're here. And we talked about it last year, and I understand everyone else's feelings on it, but I feel that I need to bring it up again. We talked about the need for having a policy manual to be able to do merit increases with reviews, and we have the policy manual in place. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for finally getting that done. That's going to be a big help throughout the entire city. So not just on this issue, but I would like to see us move to the point where we are doing merit raises. We're doing reviews. We're giving people that deserve raises, and the raises that they deserve. And the people that have things to work on, letting them know and giving them the opportunity to work on those things also. As an example, Mr. Fetterman brought it up a couple meetings ago, our mayor's pay, and we need to look at that. And that hasn't changed in forever. It was said at the beginning, and it hasn't changed at all. And that's probably something that we need to look at, to have a regular process, so that we're not overlooking this for 10 or 15 years, that we're doing it on a regular basis, and to a degree evaluating whoever's in that position and giving raises that make sense for the position and for the person that's there and the job that they're doing. I apologize, Mayor, that we haven't done anything with this for ever, but I think we're going to rectify it this year coming up when we're allowed to. There are only certain times when we can do anything, but I think this is an example of, we should have been looking at this on a regular basis, evaluating, increasing, doing the proper stuff, and just like we should be doing with the full and part-time non-union employees that we have. So that's where I'm at. Again, I'll be, as I have in the past, I'll be voting no on this, not because I don't believe most of them deserve the increases, but because of the process.
And I don't know.
Soapbox now, we'll ask to waive the 3 readings on this.
I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know as far as the mayor goes, as far as increasing his pay while he's in office, is that something that we can do?
Yeah.
Or is that something that has to be that you set a pay scale for after the next election? Because I know as a council member, not that I
Right.
think that I need any more money, but it's been the same for 16 years. You know,
That
that's
is
never
statutory, and
changed.
there's guidelines for
Right.
all elected officials, not just mayors. It's this 2.5%, the mayor's not included in this raise.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's something that have to be done separately, and that's council's business.
Right.
It's not something that I've asked you to do.
Right.
In response to Mr. Kotz, and those are appropriate comments and concerns. I think we're moving in a direction. And the first step was the policy manual and the performance evaluations. Going down the road, it may take a while. And it's a funny business when we're part union and part non-union, and union are going across the board, and non-union really being compensated on a different basis. But maybe that's just what comes with the territory. And we could spend and we will spend, I think a lot of time discussing going forward what's the best way, because there's pros and cons to the merit raises. And, sometimes it creates dissension. Sometimes it poisons the workplace. So there, sometimes there's a downside to it. We certainly hope that there's other ways to address these, individuals once we get into the performance evaluations and that aren't doing their job. And maybe there's other ways to reward those that are doing above and beyond, because you're not wrong about that. In any workplace, we all can look around and say, man, this guy's a star, or this woman's a star. I mean, she's just, I wish we could pay her more. So those are all good comments. And, and I appreciate you putting it out front, but yeah, for now, this I think is what we can do. And so, we would ask you to support it.
Can I also say a couple things in response to what Mr. Cott said? Something that you need to keep in mind when we're talking about this and the non-union people is the fact that we have the two species, so to speak, the union and non-union, working together in the city. And the unions, their increases are based on what they've negotiated. It doesn't have to do with them being good or bad, or a good employee or a bad employee. It's just what is negotiated. The non-union don't have that ability to do that unless they unionize, of course. And there's already can be some inequity about the whole situation, because you can have a first day, say, road department person that can make more than a director, a person that's been there for, many years. So you have to realize there's that part to it too, that with the union and non-union. So it just to say that it should just be based on merit for half of, a large portion of your employees, it is not entirely fair, I don't think.
Anyone else have comments? Okay, we will close the Finance Committee meeting at whatever time it is right now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jim. I think that takes care of our legislation during committees. Anybody have anything for their committees they'd like to discuss? All righty then. I'm going to go ahead and call this City of New Franklin City Council to meeting at 6:38, and I'd like to stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
Nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty
as
and
one
justice
nation,
for all.
under God, indivisible. Oh my.
All right. Thank you. Excuse me, roll call, please.
Mr. Cotts? Mr. Cotts?
Yes.
Mr. Hargit?
Here.
Mrs. Jones?
Present.
Mr. Fetterman?
Here,
Mr. Hawk?
Here.
Ms. Norris?
Here.
Mr. Stock?
Here. All right. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the regular scheduled meeting of November 18th, 2020.
Second.
First, second, any discussion, comments on the minutes? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Hargit?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Fetterman?
yes,
Mr. Hawk?
Yes.
Ms. Norris?
Abstain.
Mr. Stock?
Yes.
Mr. Cotts?
Yes.
All right, thank you. We'll go into our public comment. Please keep your comments addressed to council in under 4 minutes. Katie, haven't seen anything.
Nope, nothing's coming through.
Oh, you know,
Mr.
don't
Stock,
know
I
you got-
have a,
Oh, go ahead, Jim.
I'm sorry. I have an email that had been requested to read for the meeting.
All right, go ahead.
I want to reach out to you regarding something I noticed and would like to see if council or the mayor could shed some light on this occurrence and if this is what we can expect in the future. I know we have made a transition within the last year from the Civil Service Commission to what we now have, the PAAB, Personnel Action and Appeals Board, which affords some additional flexibility. My concern is as follows. There have been 2 positions relating to the service department within the last month. If you read both descriptions, a full-time road maintenance worker and winter seasonal workers, you will see that there are some discrepancies in basic qualifications. I think it would be easy to understand if the seasonal position had the lesser of these qualifications, but it is the exact opposite. It appears if you want to be a seasonal, it's required to have a high school diploma GED along with a CDL at the time of hire, whereas the full-time position makes no mention of required educational requirements and no mandate to have the CDL at time of hire. In fact, they give you a reasonable amount of time to get the CDL. I have tried to rationalize why an organization would make these changes when they should want to hire the most qualified candidate for the position. This got me thinking and looking for answers, which led to some research on my part. Here's what I have found. The service department currently has 8 trucks that can be utilized for plowing. 7 of these trucks are the larger CDL type of truck and the workhorse of snow removal operation. These large, primarily
Hello?
primary purpose.
Well, Jim's getting back on there. Procedurally, should we have the name of comments that we read? Is that something we need to have? I'm sorry, go ahead, Jim.
We want the best bang for our buck. Why wouldn't that could not work 20 years? Sorry about that.
We're back, but we only heard a small part. We just heard the first paragraph of that, Mr. Cotts. Hey,
All
listen,
right.
while you were frozen, I don't know whether or not we need to indicate when comments come in and Mr. Stock, I'll defer to you, whether or not we need to have as in the minutes, who makes what comment. I know when they're there in person, we always have them say their name, right?
Yeah, we haven't been doing that.
We haven't been
I don't
doing
care
that.
one way or another. I just want to be procedurally
Yeah.
correct. It doesn't
Was
matter.
that Jim, was that I didn't see it. Was that an email you got specifically to you or was it to all council?
It was specifically to me.
Okay.
And copied, Mr.
I
Fetterman.
didn't see that one at all.
And
So-
listen, I don't mean to make that's an issue we can address after the fact. This is not related to the letter that you're reading specifically.
No.
But just
I
as a
have not
housekeeping
been in-
issue.
I have not been including names and addresses since that last incident a few months back.
Yeah, I think,
I have
and when
not-
I've been, and Katie, you'll agree, when we've been doing this, I haven't been reading names either. I don't
Mm-mm.
know that was the right thing or the wrong thing to do. I just haven't been doing that.
Well, we should probably stay consistent with that unless somebody wants us to read a name. And meanwhile, I'll check with our law director and report back to you before the next meeting as to whether we should or shouldn't do that. And with that,
Well,
Mr. Cox.
we had decided from around the beginning of doing these Zoom meetings that we would not, when we're having Facebook comments or other comments, we would not use the person's name and address for whether we could verify the person as actually sending it.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
this-
good
With
point.
this comments,
Right.
I have verified the sender and talked to him personally.
Okay. Well, I would, if he could, Jim, would he have any problem sending that same thing to me with his name?
I'm
and
sure I'll be
whatever on
happy.
it?
I'll be
I'm
happy
sorry?
to forward it to you.
Yeah, but I would like to verify too, you know, I mean,
Okay.
if he don't have a problem with, I mean, if he has a problem with, or some discussion about the hiring for the road department, I wouldn't mind if I would know who that was too, and with the forwarded email. I mean, if he don't have a problem with that, but if he does, then I'd like to read it, because I didn't hear, you were kind of breaking up. I didn't hear it all, so.
Yeah,
But,
Jim, I think you're gonna need to go through it again. I'm sure, because we got to about the first fourth of it, maybe.
yeah.
And I certainly apologize. I don't know why I'm having trouble with my Zoom. I put myself in a position that right next to my Wi-Fi, so I have a strong signal. My wife has used Zoom for other meetings, and she's never had an issue with it breaking up or being a unstable connection. And for some reason, when I have our meetings here, I have that. So, you know, I don't know, Katie, if you have any ideas on what I need to do with my Zoom to help prevent this from breaking up and freezing up. Very frustrating.
In the short term, Jim, if you want to turn off your video while you read, it might use a little less bandwidth. You can try that for now.
Okay. I'll turn off my video forever.
No, don't do
Yeah,
that. Don't do that.
Jen, if you can send that to me, and if you don't mind his identification on his email, that's fine too. Either way, I'd like to read over it. Would be appreciated.
Okay. You want me to send that to you right now?
Yeah, I mean, I ain't gonna look at it now during the meeting, but I'll get a chance to look at it.
Okay. Well, I will certainly send that to you.
All right, thank you.
All right. So to start all over again, I wanted to reach out to you regarding something I noticed and would like to see if council or the mayor could shed some light on this occurrence and if this is what we can expect in the future. I know we have made a transition within the last year from Civil Service Commission to what we now have, the PAAB, Personnel Action and Appeals Board, which affords some additional flexibility. My concern is as follows. There have two positions relating to the service department within the last month. If you read both descriptions, a full-time road maintenance worker and winter seasonal worker, you will see there are some discrepancies in basic qualifications. I think it would be easy to understand if the seasonal position had the lesser of these qualifications, but it is the exact opposite. It appears if you want to be a seasonal, it's required to have a high school diploma, GED, along with a CDL at the time of hire, whereas the full-time position makes no mention of required education requirements and no mandate to have a CDL at time of hire. In fact, they give you a reasonable amount of time to get the CDL. I have tried to rationalize why an organization would make these changes when they should want to hire the most qualified candidate for the position. This got me thinking and looking for answers, which led to some research on my part. Here's what I have found. The service department currently has 8 trucks that can be utilized for plowing. 7 of these trucks are the larger CDL type of truck and the workhorse of this snow removal operations. These larger trucks' primary purpose should be utilized for the majority of streets in New Franklin. This leaves the smaller 1-ton truck, which could be used for dead-end type roads or cul-de-sac type uses. Due to the smaller bed size, smaller plow, smaller bed, and lower weight limit, a 1-ton size truck are rendered relatively useless on normal city streets. Due to the limited size of staffing, wouldn't we want the best bang for the buck? Why would we even entertain bringing someone in at a full-time position that could not perform some of the most critical oriented work? I've dealt with this many years, and keeping the streets clear during times of winter storms can be a matter of life and death for our safety forces and residents. The only reasonable explanation I could come up with is we have someone in the ranks that would not qualify under a standard qualifications. And if this is so, have they not had enough time to get the CDL? Leading to the next question, what is a reasonable amount of time to get this license? The description is silent on this matter. Is the time a year, 2, 3? We have come a long way since becoming a city, and for years there has been a perception that we operate as the good old boys club. Incidents like this give the perception we still do. I have attached the job descriptions for your convenience.
Yeah, I'd be happy to respond. And it's a thoughtful letter. The only thing I would take exception to, just because of my personal experience, is the notion of this the city operating as a good old boys club, because we've had anti-nepotism. Well, we're directed by that under state law. So there's state laws that would prohibit nepotism, and I don't know that that's a fair caricature of the city. And I would, certainly like to believe, at least in the 3 years I've been sitting here, that hasn't been the case. Relative to the job requirements, this is one of the first, if not the first hire under our new policy manual. And the policy manual was drafted based upon current employment law. With first draft came from the attorneys, and the last draft was approved by the attorneys. And the requirements for employment, as adopted under our policy manual, says all applicants for employment must be able to perform the essential functions of the position for which they apply, with or without accommodation, and must possess or be able to obtain within a reasonable time frame any required licensing, certification, bonding, or other employment requirements as specified in the position description. So the notion of given, and I think the way this posting read is that they have a CDL, or it's indicated that they be able to obtain one within a reasonable period of time. We talked about this naturally before we put the posting together. That reasonable period of time, depending on who gets the job, and is if we determine that the best candidate, and there may be 2 positions, happens to be one without a CDL, then in that situation, I can tell you that that reasonable period of time would not exceed 6 months. And that's probably enough time for a person to do that. And that person be on probation during that period of time, and that would be a condition of continued employment, that they obtain that within that time frame. And if they don't, then their employment's over. So in terms of long-term and being available to drive the bigger trucks, that's that person, whoever has that position, is going to have the CDL. There's certain criteria, and he makes a good point. The high school diploma, the CDL, it was in the seasonal under the old policy manual. It wasn't required under the old policy manual either, but that's what we advertised for. And we didn't put it in this one. In my thinking on that, and I take responsibility for that, is, we can consider all of those criteria. What we're bound by is the Ohio Constitution, that requires that every position that we fill or every promotion that we make has to be based on merit and fitness. And so we have to set up what that criteria is. If we have, for instance, if we had 4 great candidates and 3 of them had a CDL and 1 of them didn't, well, that's a reason not to hire the one who doesn't. And the same thing is true with diploma as well. And the last thing I'll say is this, that, and it's not a good old boy, but, I've tried to be as transparent as we can be. We have an individual who has worked with the city for a long time and been extremely loyal and is an excellent worker, and would not immediately satisfy some of these criteria. We want to give this individual a chance to see if he happens to be the candidate that we might want to employ. So to that extent, but I think going forward, we're going to keep as much flexibility as we possibly can. And all the criteria is in play. It's not necessary to limit the application process in order to refine the selection process. And the selection process is what's going to matter. So that's our thinking on that one. And also, and finally, kind of broaden the prospects for applicants, because, you know, that city work, when out there driving those plows, sure, they need a CDL, but there's a whole lot of work these guys do that doesn't involve driving a plow. And operation of heavy equipment, who's willing to get down in the ditch, who's showing up every day, who's working hard. There's a lot of guys that got a lot of heavy construction experience that would be very helpful to us and might be attractive candidates, but they've never had to get a CDL. So, you know, we open the door for some of those folks as well to at least be available for consideration.
All right, Paul, I got a comment, and Jim too. I've been, you know, for over 15 plus years, and I always have concerns when there's not, I mean, there's 7 of us on council, and for not getting an email to spread out to everybody to take a look at it, I've always had concerns that, you know, everybody here is approachable. So if somebody has something, you know, they would like to get to council, it'd be nice if they just sent it to all of us, so we could read it and know who is addressing us on this issue. So that's my comment from a lot of years of being here. And everybody here is approachable. If somebody has concerns, I'd like to see everybody get to see that letter and see who wrote that email personally. That's my comment.
Hey, Mary, you brought up about, you know, the different positions and qualifications and needs. And I think one thing that needs to be pointed out also is that with a full-time person, we have time. And as you mentioned, they're not necessarily having to get behind a plow truck right away. And there's plenty of other things for them to be doing. But with a seasonal person, we expect them to be able to get behind the wheel of a plow right away. And so that's another reason why we would expect the seasonal person to have that CDL immediately right now with that experience that we can put it behind the wheel of the truck right away. So very, very good points. Thank you. Also, speaking of this, how are we doing with coming up with a seasonal person? We started looking back in September, and we're still looking. And I know it's tough out there. I know the state of Ohio is having issues. They don't have enough. They're still trying. There was a report on the news last night. City of Cleveland doesn't have the seasonal workers they need. I believe Green is still looking for seasonal workers. So it's tough finding a person out there. Have we had a good flow of applicants? Or do we need to do something more than just our webpage and Facebook to get out there, get the word out there, whether using a company like Indeed or some other type of recruiting program, whatnot?
We think we're in pretty good shape. We brought 2 on board today. Am I right about that, Brian?
Yesterday.
Yesterday, okay.
Two of them.
We were hoping to get 3.
Yes.
All right. So we got 2. I'm not sure if there's, I'm not sure there's a lot else that we can do in that regard. You feel comfortable with where you're at staffing wise right now, Brian?
I'd like to get another seasonal. It would be great if we could get one more season. For the last 2 years, we've had 3. And it works out pretty well, as long as no one gets sick.
You think, well, of course, so we start butting the hourly in. I think we go up to, if a guy's been with us a couple of years, they go up to $18.
Yes.
All right. And a guy coming in full-time starts, I think, at $21.60.
Correct.
All right. And that 18, is that, what are they doing in the county? I don't know. What's Green doing?
we're 50 cents higher than Green.
Yeah, I thought we had done, because we raised those a couple of years ago to try to be competitive with Green.
Yeah.
So we didn't lose guys up there. I think it's a dearth of employees.
I think everybody's struggling trying to find.
Yeah.
All right, is that our public comments for this evening? Any more questions or conversation?
There was one more comment that came in. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
About it, somebody not having any problem with giving up their address and that?
One more after that.
I don't, that one I don't. Yeah, I'm trying to refresh here. I don't see it.
It just says, why does it matter who sent the comment?
Okay. Well, it doesn't matter in particular, but it would be nice if some of the other council members have it to, I don't know, I'm just gonna say verify that it's a letter from somebody coming in. I'm not, nothing against Jim or anything, but I've seen it through the years that, you know, everybody's approachable. It'd be nice to hear it from at least some other people, hear what somebody's writing in. So it doesn't matter the name particularly, that some other people get to see the email or whatever.
The reason I mentioned it was because historically, that's what we've always done at the meetings. We've always required a person who's going to stand up and make a comment to give us a name and address, among other things that let us know whether or not they were a resident of the city or whether they weren't. They could speak in either regard, but maybe it's a little different tenor. And the only reason I mentioned it was for consistency with what we've done before, but I am reminded that sometimes we have a little difficulty verifying exactly who sent what. So I will inquire, you know, I don't know. I don't know that we have a duty to have that information. If we don't, that's fine with me. It doesn't matter to me. They can all be anonymous. I mean, I don't have, it doesn't matter to me in that regard.
That's fine. All right. Anything else for committees? Or I'm not out of committees, but from public comment? We all good? All right, we'll go into our legislation this evening with our first readings. Resolution number 20-R-64, Kelly.
A resolution to modify and adopt compensation rates for part-time firefighters/paramedics and declaring that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage.
Since the resolution is assigned to the Finance Committee, we move to waive the 3 readings on Resolution 20-R-64 as amended.
Second.
Second, we got first and second. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Fetterman?
Yes.
Mr. Hawk?
Yes.
Ms. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Stock?
Yes.
Mr. Cotts?
Yes.
Mr. Hargit?
Yes.
Right. That
We
passes.
move to adopt Resolution 20-R-64 as amended.
Second.
First and second, any further conversation? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Jones?
No.
Mr. Fetterman?
Yes.
Mr. Hawk?
Yes.
Ms. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Stock?
Yes.
Mr. Cotts?
Yes.
Mr. Hargit?
Yes.
All right, that passes 6-0. Thank you. Or 6-1, I'm sorry. All right, we'll go to resolution number 20-R-65, Kelly.
A resolution authorizing New Franklin to enter into an agreement with Montrose Ford for the purchase of a 2020 Ford F-Series SD truck for the service department and declaring that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage.
This resolution is assigned to the Finance Committee. we move to waive the three readings on resolution 20R65.
Second.
Got first and second, roll call, please.
Mr. Fetterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hawk,
Yes.
Ms. Norris,
Yes.
Mr. Stock,
Yes.
Mr. Cotts,
Yes.
Mr. Hargit,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones.
Yes.
We move to adopt resolution 20R65.
Second.
Got first and second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Fetterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hawk,
Yes.
Ms. Norris,
Yes.
Mr. Stock,
Yes.
Mr. Cotts,
Yes.
Mr. Hargit,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones.
Yes.
All right, that passes 7-0. Move to resolution number 20-R-66. Kelly?
A resolution amending resolution 20-R-57, authorizing the city of New Franklin to enter into a 2-year policing contract with the village of Clinton and declaring that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage.
This resolution is assigned to the Finance Committee. We move to waive the three readings on resolution 20R66.
Second.
Got first and second, roll call, please.
Mr. Hawk,
Yes.
Ms. Norris,
Yes.
Mr. Stock,
Yes.
Mr. Cotts,
Yes.
Mr. Hargit,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Fetterman.
Yes.
We move to adopt resolution 20R66.
Second.
Got first and second, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Hawk,
Yes.
Ms. Norris,
Yes.
Mr. Stock,
Yes.
Mr. Cotts,
Yes.
Mr. Hargit,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
No.
Mr. Fetterman.
Yes.
Okay, that passes 6-0, or 6-1, I'm sorry. Move to resolution number 20-R-67.
A resolution authorizing an advance from the general fund to the 2907 COPS School Violence Prevention Fund and declaring that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage.
This resolution is assigned to the Finance Committee. We move to waive the three readings on 20R67.
Second.
Second.
First and second, roll call, please.
Ms. Norris,
Yes.
Mr. Stock,
Yes.
Mr. Cotts,
Yes.
Mr. Hargit,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Fetterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hawk.
Yes.
We move to adopt resolution 20R67.
Second.
First and second, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Norris,
Yes.
Mr. Stock,
Yes.
Mr. Cotts,
Yes.
Mr. Hargit,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Fetterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hawk.
Yes.
All right, that passes 7-0. Move to resolution number 20-R-68.
A resolution authorizing the transfer of funds from the general fund to the police district and dispatch funds and declaring that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage.
This resolution is assigned to the Finance Committee. We move to waive the three readings on 20R68.
Second.
First and second, roll call, please.
Mr. Stock,
Yes.
Mr. Cotts,
Yes.
Mr. Hargit,
yes,
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Fetterman,
yes,
Mr. Hawk,
yes,
Miss Norris.
Yes.
We move to adopt Resolution 20R68.
second,
Got a first and second roll call, please?
Mr. Stock,
Yes.
Mr. Cotts,
Yes,
Mr. Hargit,
yes,
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Fetterman,
yes,
Mr. Hawk,
yes,
Miss Norris.
Yes.
All right, that passes 7-0. We'll move to resolution number 20-R-69.
A resolution authorizing additional appropriations to the 2020 annual operating appropriation budget and declaring that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage.
this resolution is assigned to the Finance Committee. We move to waive the 3 readings on Resolution 20R69.
second,
Got a first and second roll call, please?
Mr. Cotts,
Yes,
Mr. Hargit,
yes,
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Fetterman,
yes,
Mr. Hawk,
yes,
Miss Norris,
Yes.
Mr. Stock.
Yes.
we move to adopt Resolution 20R69.
second,
First and second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Cotts,
Yes,
Mr. Hargit,
yes,
Mrs.
Yes.
Jones, Mr. Fetterman,
yes,
Mr. Hawk,
yes,
Miss Norris.
Yes.
Mr. Stock.
Yes. All right, that passes 7-0. Move to our supplemental, which is resolution 20-R-70, Kelly.
And I'm
A
withdrawing that.
resolution granting wage and, you're withdrawing 70?
Yes,
Okay, 70 is withdrawn. How about, we'll go to resolution 20-R-71.
A resolution granting wage increases for all full-time and part-time non-union job classifications with the exception of part-time fire and declaring that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage.
this resolution is assigned to the Finance Committee. We move to waive the 3 readings on 20R71.
I'll second that. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Fetterman,
yes,
Mr. Hawk,
yes,
Miss Norris,
Yes.
Mr. Stock,
Yes.
Mr. Cotts,
Yes,
Mr. Hargit.
yes,
we move to adopt Resolution 20R71.
second,
We got first and second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Fetterman,
yes,
Mr. Hawk,
yes,
Miss Norris,
Yes.
Mr. Stock,
Yes.
Mr. Cotts.
No.
Mr. Hargit.
yes,
All right, that passes 6-1. All right, that should take care of our legislation
Hey,
this
David.
evening.
David, I got to interrupt you.
Yes.
And I got to ask council to revisit 20R64. When we were in committee, I indicated that I wanted to amend that section 1 to make it clear that it was effective with the pay period beginning December 27th, 2020. We don't have that in the resolution. And Susan, I'm thinking that the auditor will want to see that effective date.
Yes, I was assuming that normally when we amend things, Kelly writes those in while we're doing it.
Right. Well, I would
So tell me-
revisit that resolution and write that in and then,
Paul,
yes, Judy.
thank you, because I just wanted to say I voted incorrectly on that, so I would love it if you would redo it.
Well,
Okay.
I think it was put down as
As amended, yes.
as amended. Jim, I recall you saying as amended, which I would
Yes.
say the date was in there.
Yes.
Okay, and that's
Okay.
what threw me off. I voted incorrectly on that, thinking it was Resolution R66 when I was looking at it because he did say amended. So
Yeah.
I voted incorrectly on that. I wanted my vote to be yes on the increase in the pay because I think that's important.
Well, I'm not sure we can change your
It's
vote.
It's
at this
okay,
Judy,
point,
David.
Judy,
It's
but
okay if you
duly-
can't.
Duly
I just
noted,
wanted it noted
duly
because I
noted.
felt very bad about that, but I didn't realize it until you read the number and I looked at my sheet again. I apologize for that. That was my fault.
No problem.
Kelly, do you have the language you need?
That I was just gonna ask, which whereas are we looking
No,
at?
it's in section
Are we going
one.
to section 1?
At the end of where it says New Franklin Council adopts compensation rates for part-time firefighters set forth in the attached exhibit A, it will go on to say effective with the pay period
Effective with pay period
beginning December 27th, 2020.
beginning December 27th, 2020.
Yeah.
And that is, all right. Okay,
All right. Thank you.
okay, I will make it as amended.
Thank you.
I mean, I think we're good on that part there because it was as amended. Does everybody else agree that we talked about it through committee?
Yes,
And
you
that was
did.
how it was going to come?
Yes, I wrote it down when Jim said it too as well.
All right. So there's no questions on that at this point, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So we have no second, third, or pending. We'll go into the mayor's report.
Thank you. Let's see, Aqua, they had the construction meeting and they're going to be starting, they're already starting, they're putting some materials at some staging areas and they're going to begin construction. We'll see that happen here in the next week or so. They'll be starting, I think I mentioned last council meeting, in the area of East Caston and South Main, and it's exciting. And they'll be in that area, it'll probably be the month of December in that area before they get to West Caston and actually start up, technically at that point into New Franklin, because the very first phase of it starts in Green because that's where their line ends right now. So we're excited about that. We'll keep everybody posted in terms of traffic will remain open throughout, but there'll be signage and flaggers, et cetera, as they go through their construction process. Really good news on broadband. We came close, we got these, well, somewhere between 35 and 50 houses that either have no broadband or have it, or they might as well have none because the service is so bad. And we took a look, in early fall and talked about spending $220,000 of CARES money with Spectrum to expand the broadband. Then the rules changed on how we could spend that money and we got away from that idea, but those folks were still without. As we go deeper into the year and these numbers go crazy, the need increases. And I will, I give credit to our staff. They came up with an idea. We have a standing contract with Verizon for service for some of our phones. And upon inquiry, Verizon indicated that they could provide what basically hotspots, what they call jetpacks. And those could be provided to these households. And then the service, and this is at the government speed. So it's supposed to be a pretty high scale broadband availability. I think we maybe got some broadband experts on the panel here, so we'll see how it plays out. The service would be $39.99 a month. And typically these jet packs would be $199. Now, we were also talking to AT&T at the same time about the same idea. And theirs were going to be $150 for the hotspots. And then the service was the same, $39.99 a month. The Verizon, we were going to have to pay for for Spectrum, I think $25 per hotspot. And Verizon, where it's normally $199, their government rate is usually $29.99, but we were an existing customer, they were going to waive that. And so they'll give us the jet packs. And we can provide these to the households. And what we're proposing and planning to do is provide these for to get 40 of them, 6 months of service. That would take them through the end of May. And what we're thinking is that hopefully things will be clear by then. But there's a decent chance that the remote learning might go on into through the end of the school year. So that's why we picked a 6-month date. And we can do this for all 40 houses for a little bit over $9,500. We have reason to believe that this would be a good level of service. And now beyond that, if the people wanted to continue service, that would be up to them. That'd be between them and Verizon, or we take the packs back and they're on their own. So that's a general. Have I stated that pretty correctly, Katie? Okay. So I want to let you know that's we're waiting for the actual written proposal on this any day. And absent some reason not to do this, we're going to give this a shot. So instead of $220,000, and this is going to be CARES money. And the idea would be that we'll get these in-house, we'll prepay these contracts for the 6 months, and we can pay for that with CARES money, the $9,597. And then these folks would be covered for that 6-month period. So any questions on that or comments or concerns on that? All right. Relative to these CARES expenditures, I expect to have a resolution for you at the next meeting that will outline, if you remember, we received about 1.5 million, and we're dedicating 1.4 million of that to payroll replacement for our safety forces. We approved that a couple meetings ago. The balance of 100,000 is going to be for the more traditional CARES expenses. That truck you approved tonight will be part of that. This broadband will be part of that. And we'll manage to spend the whole 100,000. So I'll have a listing of that for you in a resolution form when we meet again in 2 weeks.
Paul, I
Yes.
apologize. What would be the bill for those 40 homes after the 6-month period? Would it be the $40 a month, $39.95?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And would other households be able to hook into that if they preferred Verizon instead of the whatever they have?
Well, they could, but not necessarily under this program. We'd have to show that there was a need, a COVID-related need.
I understand.
The absence of the broadband. Because if you or I called, we'd have to pay the $199 to get the unit, and then we pay the service on top of that.
Well, what I'm saying is there are homes that they do not have Verizon in their area.
Uh-huh.
They are not it's not offered in their area. So would that be a home that would be considered a hotspot possibility?
If they had no other service.
They cannot have any other service.
Yeah, if they have available service, then it wouldn't work.
Okay, thank you.
The request for proposals for the Tudor House is in almost final form. I expect to have that out by maybe by the end of the, well, actually we got a date of December 11th. So we're going to send that out. And I just want you to know that's moving down the tracks. I think I put a return date on there at the end of January. And we're going to solicit proposals for some entity to come in. We know we have one interested party to come in, take over management, build some structures, all with city approval and required. And we'll see, we'll see if that works. We'll see what kind of responses we get. So we're moving along the road on that one. I don't want to forget dog licenses. They are now on sale and you can get those online. I got a note on those somewhere. But I think we had it on our website too. And we got a lot of dog lovers out here and we got a lot of them on the screen. So anyway, there's a site to the fiscal office. You don't have to go down there. You can do everything online and get your dog licenses. And as they point out, the biggest deal of this dog license is not so they can squeeze the money out of you, but you put it on the dog tag. If your dog gets lost, they know how to get it back to you. And our police do a nice job of this. There's a kennel set out. There was a group that came and did that for us. And I apologize, I can't remember who they were that set up that kennel. I saw them throw some hay in there about a week ago. And man, these guys are great. If they see a stray, they pick that dog up, they bring it to that cage, they keep it there for a while, hope that somebody calls dispatch and says, do you got Fido? But it makes it a lot easier if there's a license on there. So please get your dogs licensed. Tennis courts, we are still exploring that possibility. We're getting some pricing. I think I mentioned to you, we talked to the Manchester schools and they may be willing to give us the land to put them on. And we would make those courts available, not just to the Manchester, but also to Coventry High School, because neither of those schools have dedicated courts available. Northwest as well, if they need it, although I was advised that they don't have a tennis team right now. And Green is, Norton has courts. But they'd be open to them too if they, for some reason they didn't. But I know that Coventry and Manchester were going over to Barberton to play. So we're looking at the numbers and we'll see how that looks and I'll keep you advised on that. The governor did sign the law that extends the authority for virtual meetings through January 1st. So that is law now and that's been approved. And hopefully we won't need it that long, but it's there if we do. We're going to go ahead and contract with Archive Social for our records retention. We did some scouting out on that. We found one other site, but we got some good reviews from a number of cities that use them. And I think it's a really nice piece for us and it will assure our compliance with public records, particularly as it relates to our social and electronic media. So we'll get that in place. They're going to give us 2 months free. And it'll be $199 a month after that. And we will go ahead and get a 1-year contract to begin with. Okay, and finally, favorite word you like to hear? I have some board appointments to ask you to approve. And one, I'm going to ask you to make the recommendation. But starting with planning and zoning for a term, and these are all reappointments. Everybody that's is presently serving has agreed to continue to serve. So, and these roll off one per year, and plus the alternate is always a 1-year contract. So for planning and zoning, Dave Kroc has agreed to serve another 5-year term. That term would be from January 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2025. That's David Kroc, K-R-O-C-K. And John Conley has agreed to serve again as the alternate. That would be a 1-year term, January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021. Those are mayor appointments. And so I'm intending to make those appointments and I'm asking your approval of those 2 appointments for planning and zoning. And I don't know if we've traditionally done a voice vote or a roll call on this. Whatever you prefer, David. I'm asking for a vote approving those 2 recommendations for planning and zoning.
I'll make a motion to approve the mayor's appointments for planning and zoning. David Kroc for the 5-year term and John Conley as the alternate.
Second.
You got a second? I'm gonna go ahead and do a roll call. Kelly? Kelly? Roll call? You're muted, Kelly.
Mr. Cotts,
Yes.
Mr. Hargit,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Fetterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hawk,
Yes.
Ms. Norris,
Yes.
Mr. Stock.
Yes.
All right, thank
Did
you.
everybody? All right. There you
For
go,
the-
Paul.
For the BZA, Board of Zoning Appeals, Amber Crow. She came in and finished an unexpired term and has done a really nice job. She's agreed to serve a 5-year term. That's CROWE. Amber Crow. And that term would be January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2025. The alternate, Edward Kosla, KOSLA. 1-year term, January 1st, 2021, December 31st, 2021. And I would ask for a motion from council approving those appointments.
Make a motion to accept the mayor's appointments for the Board of Zoning Appeals of Amber Crow for a 5-year term and Edward Kosla for the alternate.
Second.
You have a first and second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cotts,
Yes.
Mr. Hargit,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Fetterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hawk,
Yes.
Ms. Norris,
Yes.
Mr. Stock.
Yes.
Thank you. And finally, the parks, we have a 5-year term, Steve Yacono, YOCONO, came in and finished an unexpired term about 2 years ago. And he has agreed to serve a 5-year term. That would be January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2025. Alternate, longtime alternate, valuable alternate, Larry Ray, REA, has agreed to come back as an at-large, as the alternate for a term of 1 year, January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021. Pursuant to charter, these are council appointments, so I'll ask for a motion from council to appoint those 2 individuals.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint to the Parks Commission Steve Yucano for a 5-year term and Larry Ray as the alternate.
Second.
We have a first and second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cotts,
Yes.
Mr. Hargit,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Fetterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hawk,
Yes.
Ms. Norris,
Yes.
Mr. Stock.
Yes. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, council, and that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Paul. Move to finance, Susan.
Hi, we are crazy busy, but I wanted to make sure everybody put on their calendar. We talked about this earlier about the year-end meeting on December 30th at 6 p.m. Also, one other thing is that, and I know you're aware of this, but just kind of as a reminder, with new terms, you also have to, for council, you also have to have your classes for sunshine laws. Those are available online that everybody can take them in the privacy and the comfort of their own home and do them. And you can do them slowly. You don't have to try and do it all in one fell swoop either. But once you get those completed, we definitely need a copy of your certificate because the auditors do ask us for that. And that would be written up in our audit if we don't have that. So if you would please do that. Other thing I wanted to let you know, though, that isn't a requirement, but is something that's very valuable and I wish everyone would do, is to also take the online courses at the Ohio Ethics Commission. It's not a long class. It's a few different videos, but it's very good information. A lot of things that people aren't aware of that are ethics violations and that people aren't aware of, and that some, like the mayor talked about earlier, nepotism is a felony. So it would kind of behoove everybody to be aware of those. So I would definitely, I have to take it every year. So I would definitely recommend taking it, and you can do that online as well. That's really all I have, except for the fact that you will probably get the temporary appropriations at the next meeting for 2021. It's with the department heads right now. They're looking them over, and as usual, that'll just be kind of, a quarter of the normal appropriations to get us through the first 3 months. So it'll be nothing surprising there. Just the guys are just looking at it to see if there's something, for example, a vehicle or something that would have to be purchased in the beginning of the year before we get our annuals that we have to make allowances for. But other than that, it'll be generally the same information, but those should be to you before the next meeting. And that's all I have.
What time was the 30th?
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Ms. Cook, I have not received October financial reports.
Yes, and you will be receiving them tonight, because actually we had someone in our office who does the receipts had COVID and was out for a couple weeks. So she just finished updating the receipts, and I am looking over the reports right now. In fact, that's what I was doing before we got on this meeting. And once I review the reports, I will send them out to you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
All right, move into old business. Any old business? Okay, new business.
Dave, I think Judy has some old business that she's on, hasn't unmuted quite yet.
Yeah, go ahead and, I didn't hear you, Judy. You got to unmute.
Okay, I apologize, Dave, but I
Okay.
think I hit the button twice.
All right.
I just wanted to ask Susan if that person was feeling better and okay to come back to work. She said they were ill.
Yes, they are fine. They have come through it very well, and we're grateful for that, because we need all the help we can get in the
I
office,
agree.
as you know.
Yes, I do know.
All right, thanks, Judy. How about new business?
I wanted to mention, and I see Kevin ask as well, the Christmas lights at the police go around and judge. Are we going to be doing that again this year?
Why not? Yes, why not? We got to keep the spirit. And I got mine up. It's
Same here, yeah.
yeah, it's not my usual Griswold display. I back down a little bit, but
I'll
hey,
see
I got
how
my
I added it.
certificate. I won mine, so I'm good. No, that's great, Mr. Fetterman. I'll talk with police. I assume they expect that, but I'll confirm that with them.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I did see Kevin's on there. Kevin said he's pretty proud. He has no problem with us using his name and his address through the comments. So, and we'll have to discuss that too, because we got a lot tonight that I'm going to read here just shortly. But anyhow, any other new business?
I have a couple things I like to say to keep everybody here a lot longer. Kind of want to look over 2020, and it's been obviously a kind of a unique year where we've had this the pandemic and issues with it throughout the city. But I think there's a lot of good things that happened in the city this year, and I just kind of want to go over those and remind people of a lot of things that got accomplished this year. The mayor mentioned the water. That's a huge thing, and is starting on it, and he's worked long and hard to make that happen. A lot of meetings, a lot of handshaking, hand pulling, or whatever need to happen, but it's happening, and that's a big thing. The COVID has pushed back sewers in the residential areas, and we'll give that credit to Paul also. But that for a lot of people may consider that a good thing. Paul mentioned a Tudor house with possible management coming in there. We had to end the activities that we had last year and some of the activities that we had planned for this year. but we were able to still do some weddings, do some small scale weddings there, and make some memories for some couples. We got new lights put up at the Tudor House, which the Tudor House looks fantastic. And if you haven't driven by to see those lights, you really need to. The mayor mentioned tennis. Well, you know, he's got his pickleball courts coming, and he's worked to make that happen, and we certainly appreciate it. And I think a lot of people are going to enjoy that. The COVID money, the CARES Act, you know, Paul, I've heard the frustration in your voice when talking about it during the meetings, and I cannot imagine the number of hours you've put in trying to figure this thing out, going, you know, changing constantly. I imagine it's been a lot of work for you, and I just want to say I appreciate the time that you've put in to make sure we're getting our fair share, make sure that we're using that money correctly, so that, you know, we don't have an issue down the road, and that we're using it properly for the things we need within the city. We got the do not knock program started. I think that's a big thing, because a lot of people are going to appreciate that, and that, you know, we'll start pushing that again in the spring when people start going around door to door again and reminding people they can sign up for that program. We have bridge issues, the Benner Road Bridge. That's, you know, that's not happening until next year, but it's happening, and we've got the money, we've got the plan. Whereas another bridge close to us, and there is no plan. But with the Benner Road Bridge, we have a plan, and we've been working to get that cost, the New Franklin share, down with different grants and things. And, you know, that again, that's important. The regional dispatch program that's starting up, spent years working on that, and that's becoming a reality. And I think that's going to be a good thing for both cities. I think is going to be the beginning of regionalizations, that where we can work with other communities on a lot of different things. I think that's the future, and we've got to be open to that. And so I'm looking forward to what we see with that. In the beginning of the year, we started getting into social media a little bit, and using the internet a little bit more. We brought Katie on, who's been a huge help in that area, and kind of making things happen. And we were just dipping our toes into it, and then COVID came and just pushed us right in. You know, granted, we're still on the shallow end, and we're only up to our ankles, but you know, we're there. We're in the pool, and we're starting to make things happen. We're doing these Zoom meetings, and with that comes some concerns also. You know, we talked about having people identify themselves or not, you know, that we talked about today, but I think we need to clean up our meetings as far as what platform we're using. We use Zoom for our council meeting, but our zoning meetings, the BZA and the Planning and Zoning Commission meetings, they use a different platform. We live stream on Facebook, but they live stream on YouTube. Before, all of our meetings were on our website, and you can go hit meetings, select the date you want, and they're there. We don't have any meetings posted since March 18th. So I'd like to see us combine all those, be able to put all those meetings in one place where people can find them, people can, you know, refer back to them, see them, make it easier. And I'd like to see us all use the same platform, and basically, you know, make it simple for citizens to be able to find whatever meeting they want to, you know, watch, be a part of. And I'd like to see all of our meetings, even the Park Commission and the Tudor House. I'd like to see those live streamed. We don't necessarily have to have public comment coming in for those meetings, but I'd love to have that available for people to watch, and everything that goes along with that, I guess. I know we have our temporary appropriations coming up soon. I'm still concerned and don't understand why we can't do our budgets, why we have to wait till the last minute in March to do our budgets. Summit County is doing theirs this month, approving theirs. Green's approving theirs this month. I just think that that's something that we should be trying to get a little bit better at. And there's, you know, I'd like for us to start thinking about 2021 and what we can do to make the city better, what each of us can do, what little part we can do. I think we've done a lot of great things. And again, Mr. Adamson, I really appreciate the time and effort that you put into the city. And I want you to know it doesn't go unnoticed. But I'd like to see what each of us we can do to just add a little something to the city and, help what we can to step forward. I volunteered in the past to, any free time I have that I can help out in any way. I'm happy to do that. That offer still stands. And so 2020, see ya. But I look forward to 2021. I think we're going to have a great year. And so I think it's going to be great for everybody in New Franklin. And I'm done.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Any other new business?
I want to say two things. It's not new business. First of all, appreciate the kind words and clearly team effort, period. And we got a great team. And that's how, including the faces I'm looking at right now. That's how those things happen. So I appreciate that. And Kevin knows that I hold him in high regard. And I knew he wouldn't care if his name's out there. And he's always has good ideas, good input. It brings a lot of experience. And so I wanted to say that publicly. So, because I think he knows how I feel about him. Thank you, David.
All right. Yeah, Paul, I think just as a new comment, I guess, or new business, we do have to kind of address, like when we're at our meetings, if you stand up and want to talk, you have to state your name and address. And I knew we kind of lost that because there was a comment made that we stated a name and it wasn't that comment. I don't know how we address that, but
yeah.
It is, if you're going to make a comment or have a question, it should be in our open meetings. It would always be public record. So I don't know, maybe you want to talk to Irv about how we address that going forward.
I'll check on that, see what he says.
So, but that's my comment there. And does anybody have any other new business? All right. So we get to a point now that we had discussed. This is our public question and answers. And we have comments. And I'm going to go ahead and read the comments at this point, where we got to a point in our meetings before that end part was something that we put in that most councils don't do. And it was actually to talk about what we talked about this evening through our legislation part of our meeting. So I don't know, as far as, and I've been doing this since we've been Zooming, that I'm going to read actual comments now that came in up to this point. Katie, I'm sure you've seen them too, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to I'm going to skip back a little bit because we were talking about like the same thing I just discussed, is it, who makes the comment. And there was a comment that says, why does it matter who sent the comment? And then there was another one that said it doesn't. They just want this to go smooth so they can line their pockets, then put the money into the Tudor House rather than something that will assist all residents of the city, like an industrial leaf vacuum. And I'll make a comment on that. That industrial leaf vacuum would not matter to me whatsoever. And I'm one of the citizens. So as far as all residents, it wouldn't all residents. I'm sure there's people that don't really care about an industrial leaf vacuum. And Paul, somebody said, bring back Bob Lockhart. Hate to say that, but I don't think that would help at all. That's my comment as a resident. And then it goes back to how we talked about when we had it amended, which we talked about during our committee, that we were amending that, and the resolution that Kelly had to write in what it was. And we all voted on something that we knew that was the amended part of it. And there was a comment was, how about rewriting it and taking another vote rather than pencil whipping it in? And does anybody have a problem? I don't think we pencil whipped that in. Does everybody agree with that? Somebody back me up here. I feel like I'm way out on my own here.
No, I think it was amended.
Yeah.
Okay, it was amended as we voted, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you on that. And then a lot of this is the same person. Says do the broadband for people who need it. And I think that's what we were discussing, correct, Paul?
Yes.
Okay. And then going back to some of your appointments, pass on Croc. Okay for the second. And then birds of a feather flock together. Still same person. And then that was it, other than Kevin Powell. He's okay with letting us know who he is. So again, Kevin, thanks for watching, and thanks for your input. And that's all I got. Katie, anything?
I think you got them all.
All right. Anybody else? I think that's going to be it. Paul, I don't think we have an executive session this evening, do we?
We do not.
All right. Well, good seeing everybody. Uh-oh, Katie, you got me. I'm on mute, so. I agree, though. I'm just gonna say that's a good comment. That's okay. Geez, are you blushing? I think she's blushing. All righty then. Well, again, good seeing everybody. We'll see you in a couple weeks. And
All right, David, aren't you going to read that comment?
no, I already asked Katie. We both seen it. That was to Katie.
Oh, you read all the other
On
ones.
Facebook for all.
I know, but okay, Dusty Smith, we agree. And you got Katie to blush. So anyhow, all righty then. I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion that we adjourn this evening. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, sir.
Good night.
Night.